what to do. Welcome to the Isle of Roux. Number 24, 24th episode. The Creator gifted us with this land that we are blessed to share and care for together. We acknowledge that the land we gather on, Mohkinstsis, is the ancestral territory of the Siksika Sitapi, the Siksika, the Gaina, the Pikani, and the Amskapti Pikani. We acknowledge all First Nations and Métis of Treaty 7 lands, the Sutena, the Ithkabi, which includes Bearspaw, Chiniki, and Goodstoney. We commit to advancing reconciliation guided by truths, respecting treaty laws, and humbly walking alongside First Nations, Métis, and Inuit. We recognize all who live, work, play, and make art on these lands and who now call this place home. So we are...
I taught a Goodstoney. One of his ancestors was part of that treaty.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. What are you doing?
I was going to look.
I'm trying to pin.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but I need you to talk while I'm pinning.
Okay. Well, happy Strawberry Full Moon.
Happy anniversary. Happy anniversary. Happy anniversary. Yeah. Happy anniversary. It's not really our anniversary.
Yeah. Kelly here. Joining from her studio. Hi, Kelly. And
sure.
Campaigners here.
Sure.
Oh, thanks, Scott. He said 24. That's amazing.
Scott, you want to join us online? Become part of the party? It's so fun. Here's something. So I have not been showing or selling my work in a while. And first of all, it occurred to me that is my voice working? Somebody indicate. Am I working? Am I talking to myself? Anybody? Anybody? I feel so alone. Good evening.
Hey, how are you doing, Amanda? How
Amanda,
was your
can
trip?
you hear my voice? Tell me if you can hear my voice. I don't know if they hear us. Can you hear us? I'll type it.
Oh,
okay,
nice.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay, so I was realizing I have not sold a painting in a while. And I realize this because I have an extra couple hundred of paintings. Well, 100 anyways. And so I had this thought like, oh, what am I going to do with my paintings now that I'm not doing what I used to do? And then I thought, well, where am I going to do what I do with my paintings? Because I really don't want to get involved in one of the galleries that started me wanting to open my own gallery. I wasn't dying to open my own gallery so much as I'm kind of non-compliant and I don't like to be told what to do. So years ago, I condescended to submit my work to a gallery. Actually, even back then, the Shadowbox Gallery, here's what happened. I'll tell you the whole story. I was in my 4th year of art school. Do you know the story? And Art is Vital was sort of touring our school looking for people. And they invited me to come and submit. And I was like, oh, I'm not really submissive even back then. I will admit, being a bit of a snob, I was kind of excited. And, there's actually some pretty decent people that were invited to do that. And none of us had names because we're all art students. One of the people I didn't particularly think was a great artist, which is awful because it kept me from wanting to show with Art is Vital. And I kind of went down there to check them out and saw somebody that I wasn't dying to be associated with, um, showing with Art is Vital. I kind of closed my mind to going through the application process. I also sort of thought that when uh, they were touring to invite us to submit, right? Which might be actually where this might have been the very beginning days of me thinking, I don't want to be submissive.
Mm-hmm.
So, having invited me to go and show my work, I thought it was kind of bullshit that I should have to go through a submission process.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just felt really low.
Yeah.
I walked down the corridor to the far end of Eau Claire, because that's where it was back then.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw this place called the Shadowbox Gallery. I think my gallery pimp was named Kevin.
Oh, Kevin.
I shouldn't call him a pimp, but I used to call him my pimp. And I asked Kevin what he thought about me showing my work, and he's like, "Well, we have artists, and we're very particular, and we don't want just anybody." And I was like, "Okay, go to hell." And then out of the blue, he asked me, something piqued his interest, and I showed him a picture, because this was before cell phones, of this desk I'd been making. And he quite liked it. So he decided immediately that he wanted to show my artwork, starting with that desk. And then also basically anything I had. So it kind of went from like, we're a little too busy to talk to you. Come back on a Thursday with your
CV.
Well, yeah, and your like folder, and your slides have to be on this kind of whatever, with that kind of whatever, and if the red dots aren't in the top right hand corners, there's
like
no and it was so upsetting that I wasn't going to show anywhere. And then when he saw the furniture I was making, he was like kind of intrigued. And once I put my furniture in, he was excited to see everything I had.
Mm.
And I was able to show my work on my terms.
That's very nice.
If that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Now that said, that gallery closed. The hell was I telling the story for? Oh yeah. And then I didn't want to show again anywhere. That's a whole nother story about actually how that gallery closed, because that's part of the reason why that gallery closed down, which is kind of awful. But what happened was Kevin had said to me, not dead Kevin,
different Kevin.
He said, I'd like to talk to you about the cut. And we were doing a 60-40 cut. However, he paid the GST. My boss at work was giving me a hard time about the 60-40 cut, because I was just at work making signs. And James said at work, "Oh, so this guy, all he got to do is put light bulbs in, and he's keeping 60% of your sales," which was kind of like poison to my brain. I shouldn't have bought into that negativity. But I got it in my head like, yeah, I'm paying for all the materials. Maybe I should get a better cut. And so one day I walked in, and Kevin used to say to me, "Hey, you want to get high?" I'm like, "No, I don't do that." And then, well, definitely not during business conversations. But I always knew when he wanted to talk business, because he always tried to get me stoned. And so he goes, "I'd like to talk to you about the cut." And I was like, "That's perfect, because I wanted to talk to you about the cut." And he's like, it was
50-50?
55-45 was the split. He goes, "I was thinking 60-40. I was like, "I was also thinking 60-40. And I got really excited. And then we realized he wanted 60 and I wanted 60, and there isn't 120% to deal with. So I said, "No, I don't think that's cool." And he just slammed his book shut and said, "I'm going to close the gallery." Because I was like the fifth person he talked to that day, and I was the fifth person to say I was equally not interested in the 60-40 split. And also, he was losing his shirt. So I should have been more flexible, because when the gallery shut down, I had nowhere to show, and then I felt really crappy. So that was a big life lesson for me. Furthermore, about Kevin, my art pimp from the early 2000s, he shut his gallery down and told me I couldn't pick up my piece until the Wednesday at the end of the month, which was weird because he wanted me to pick it up the day after. I went a day earlier because that's when I had a ride to pick it up. And he was having an art closing of the shop. He's having a party. And so I went to pick it up Thursday. He said I could have it Saturday. Thursday, I realized it's his last day in the shop. And he wants to hold on to it because it turns out last second somebody wanted to buy it. And so I took it home and I said, well, I'll bring it to you tomorrow. And he's like, I don't work that way. I don't like the artists to meet the art buyers. And I drove out to meet him and the buyer with this piece, and I wasn't going to give the piece over until I saw a check. And so we go to the house, and I drop off the piece. He goes inside, comes back out with the check, and he says to me, hey, sorry, but the check's in my name. And he puts the check out in front of my face, and I remember just thinking, oh, there goes all my money. And my hand reached out and snapped the check out and put it in my pocket. And he goes, you can't cash that check. And I'm like, you'll give me my half of the check and I'll give you this back. So he got all pissy because he had to give me my half of the check. He went back to his office and he wrote me a check. And there's another story about that I'll tell on a different day. But when my check covered, the gallery closed and that was goodbye to them. But he almost stole my piece. 100%.
That is
without a doubt.
The exchange part was new to me. I haven't heard how shifty he was.
Yeah. Well, there's also a thing where on the off chance that my check didn't go, I made flyers that said Kevin.
I do remember that part.
Okay. And what I did was I put the flyers in the mailboxes, but they were blank. And I put the ones that actually said he ripped me off in his mailboxes, that he would be like,
you see all the.
He'd look out the window and see all these blue flyers sticking out of the neighbors' mailboxes.
And that story does help you understand where a lot of your concepts came for Rumble House and Grill House.
Oh, I thought you were going to say a lot of my rage, but yes. Okay, back to the real world. I shut my own gallery down and felt like, I guess I've kind of shot my mouth off over the years. I'm going to have to eat some humble pie to get back into a gallery, and kind of wondered how that would go if I've slammed the door in too many faces or what have you.
Or if you even wanted to do that.
Or if I even want to. I came to the conclusion that what I'd like to do, and we were going to do this, is I'm going to build walls in our apartment. Mm-hmm. And every few months, I'm going to have a salon show where I put up walls in the middle of our apartment. I hang a bunch of artwork. I will invite art buyers to come look at the work. They can come at any time between Friday and Sunday. They'll look at the work. If they want to buy a piece, they can. If they don't want to buy a piece, that's no problem. That's my current future plan. While I was having a future plan about what to do with my own artwork, Cam called me up and said, do you want to have an art show? I was like, was he reading my mind or was he reading my posts? And he was reading neither. He's been off social media, but he had a similar thought where he's going to have a show in Inglewood in July. And I get to exhibit my work and I essentially get to curate my show. And so for this show in July, it is going to be Rich Teru, Jess Teru, Mark Vasquez McKay, Carmen Vasquez McKay, Zach Abbott, not Pablo Castle, that would be crazy, George Brock, and Salvador Dali. And so you and
Elijah?
And Elijah Escalante. So basically, and actually I think maybe we'll hang some work from Richard from Illinois. We'll use his real name, Richard Cox, and possibly Felix Teru if he's down for showing with us. That will be in Inglewood, July 18th, the day after my birthday, and the 13-year anniversary of Gorilla House. I'm not going to get into all the other anniversaries that revolve around Rumble being the same 6 month. Yeah,
but half been birthday and everything.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that happen on the 17th or the half year anniversary to the 17th.
Pretty fun.
Yeah. And that's actually kind of nice because they'll give me something to do with my work.
Mm-hmm. And yeah.
Which I haven't really had the opportunity to do. And didn't realize I was missing,
That's nice.
Yeah.
Me, she, me.
George Brock was a contemporary of Pablo Picasso.
Mm-hmm.
Salvador Dali seems to be quite well known.
Pretty
Then
good.
there's Rich and Mark and Jess and Carmen.
Pretty good bill. Yeah.
It's kind of cheeky that we're doing this because, like, you just happen to have a Salvador Dali and I just happen to have a George Brock. So I think that it's funny because that's going to be a pretty cool poster.
That's a pretty cool one. I started this full moon embroidery at the last full moon.
Yeah.
And I've just been like trying to finish it. I was like, maybe we can finish it by this full moon. So I'm just about finished. I like the colors. I really liked your picture that you did.
So far,
Mm-hmm.
critical mass.
I love that. I love the interplay between that ink that you're using and then the really, like the loose, how you use it loosely, and then how you have the tight drawings. If that makes sense. Like
Sort
the
of.
looseness in the ink,
Sort of.
and then the tight, intricate drawings with the.
Right. Does it feel like we should have a soundtrack? Kelly, I got a question for you. Are you with us?
Yeah, I had to find my mouse.
Here's my question. Because of report cards and exams and things, it so happens that I have an episode of The Wolfman, only I seem to be missing part of the soundtrack. So, I mean, enough of the soundtrack that's there that you could follow what was happening, but it doesn't have any of the car noises. There's a bit of me going broom, broom, thinking I would cover up the broom, broom with an actual car noise. Do you think it's worth waiting until next week to share the last installment of the Wolfman series, or should I play it and you can imagine your
Either or. You can imagine, or it'd be kind of cool to do it now, and then next week you put the sounds in, and then I don't know.
Sometimes I ask Jess for advice and she repeats my question. Which one? Either or?
Both. So then you have like a comparison. You do one without.
You're saying I should show it this weekend, next week?
Yeah.
I thought you were doubling down on not giving me an answer.
No.
That comes from being married to Jessica, because she often won't give me an answer. She always says both, but she really doesn't give me an answer. Okay, I'm going to play it. You ready?
Yeah.
Maybe you could help me with the sound effects.
Okay.
Video file.
Hey, Dad.
Yeah.
Isn't it weird that the car stopped again?
I can't believe it.
Dad, isn't it weird that the car stopped again?
I'm just going to take a minute here.
Do you think that's a good idea?
I'll be right back.
Is that such a good idea?
I think you know better after what happened last time.
I just, that car never works, and I'm somebody else go, oh.
Normally, I find that embarrassing. This time, I find it extra embarrassing.
I like that. That was like the pre-finished cut. I like that we.
Yeah, it's close to finished. But
Yeah.
missing all the sound bits.
I'm getting the idea of what's going on a little bit.
Yeah. What do you think's happening?
The Wolfman only comes when the moon is out. So the Wolfman can be anyone.
Yes, that's true.
So the moon has some effect on you guys in the car. So it could
Or
be
Kelly, isn't it a little bit like saying we're all the Wolfman?
like it what?
Isn't it like saying we're all the Wolfman?
Yes, in a way, but not. You don't know you're the Wolfman. Subconsciously, maybe, but not like on the surface.
I'm here to tell you we're all the Wolfman. But
Yeah.
you're allowed to interpret it any way you want.
I also think that the moon has some effect on you.
Moon always has effects on us.
Yeah.
That beast.
Yeah, so
For next week,
part of that story is that we're each the Wolfman at different times. And how families, you might think that somebody's the problem, but we're all the problem. And that actually comes back to like the politics and the cops and the people from LA and what do you call people from Los Angeles? The Los Angelians? What are they called?
Angels.
No. The Lost Angels?
Mm-hmm.
There's one last follow-up that happens with actually Dead Kevin.
Yeah. To finish up the story.
The series ends after next week. And then I'll probably sew that series all into one. What do you think about this business with Los Angeles riding, Kelly?
Which Los Angeles thing?
The Los Angeles that's in California.
Well, I'm not sure. I've only been there once.
I think she meant like what thing you're talking about when it comes
Oh,
to
there's protests and riots in Los Angeles.
Oh, I'm not following it, I guess. I'm behind.
That's okay. It's mostly just gossip. My friend Kevin, we're bringing him to LA to go to Disneyland, and he was. This is not Kevin the pimp, but it's not dead Kevin either. It's live Kevin. The live Kevin was worried about becoming dead Kevin by going to Los Angeles and getting disrupted from his medical treatments. So that's a concern that live Kevin has, is that at any given time he needs to be plugged in.
Well, really, that was like the impetus of Dead Kevin, is like we were talking about all we have to do is make sure live Kevin stays live.
We didn't call live Kevin back then. We just called him Kevin. And then we were joking around
We
about
just gotta keep Kevin alive.
Yeah, you said that. And then we were in Disney and I said, "Hey Kevin, would you be offended if we came up with a character called Dead Kevin?" And he's like, I'm not sure how I feel about that. And I was like, I understand that, but and then he gave us permission.
I think we bought the mannequin that day.
We ordered the mannequin before we got on the next ride. It was like quite miraculous. Really. Then Kevin is unable to travel by himself because I help him out with his robot box. He's got a robot box. Mm-hmm. Kelly, want to know something about this paint I'm using?
Sure.
So I made it myself, but I made it with gum arabic, and the gum arabic tends to settle at the bottom. It's really thick near the bottom. I'll show you a thick line. right? There's the thickness. But then it separates and it's kind of watery near the top. So the interesting thing about this paint is if I paint from the top of the jar, I get a light blue. If I paint from the bottom of the jar, I get a heavy dark blue. And Jess was saying the other day she really liked the variations I got in the ink. And I was like, well, I want something heavy. I dip down to the bottom of the jar. And when I want something light, I just dip it to the top. And I actually hadn't really considered that until I said it out loud for her.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's not bad. See, I'm going right deep in.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, it's beautiful.
What might make this painting decent is I have to start in the middle. And then I will need to be open to erasing some of the good I've done.
Right, because you're going over it. Mass, the mass.
Right.
Critical mass.
Yeah. So
that you're fearless like that, though. Like you could do those details and then you're able to
sacrifice them.
Yeah.
I found this homemade ink for fountain pens. Apparently, it smells like vanilla.
Oh, that's cool. Look, Super Mac asked if she can paint with us.
Absolutely. Click link. Here's the link.
Where?
Oh, that's
Click
cool.
on here.
Kelly.
I thought it was kind of neat.
That is very cool.
I'm gonna try it in resin.
Oh, nice.
See what it looks like.
So when Super Mac was in grade 7, maybe grade 8, maybe even grade 9. I'm not sure what Super Mac was in when this happened, but not just being a genius student, but also a very fast runner. I believe it was Mr. McGregor that had dubbed the Super Mac. And because like that name was so dynamic, it was quite difficult for me to erase that name from my head.
Mm-hmm.
And so it so happened that Mr. D'Souza had come and said, what could I give you to improve your art room? And I said, oh man, like if I were to be totally honest, I could really use a Macintosh computer. And he had said, I didn't know this until later, he'd gone to Janet and said, I have this teacher who, and I have some money to spend, and I believe he is very deserving. And so what he asked for was this computer.
Oh.
And so then arrived was this Macintosh computer, which did make my life a lot easier. And I think while I was loading it up, I was sitting next to Super Mac came over to ask me a question. I'm like, what should we call this computer? And she's like, I don't know. I was like, we're going to call it Super Mac because it's a Macintosh, right? Yeah. So as I was
loading it up,
plugging the computer in instead of teaching because I was super excited, I had dubbed the computer Super Mac. But to this day, when I need somebody to like Bluetooth to my computer, they're Bluetoothing to Super Mac. So both one of the best students I ever taught and my computer. Did I misunderstand that? Is Super Mac going to join us? Maybe perhaps working out the details of how
logging on, probably.
Yeah. So just follow that link, Super Mac, or even we could send you individually. Do you want to? Is that through? What's the? Oh, there we go.
There.
We're gonna add you in. Here you are.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you guys? That was a really sweet story. Can you see me all right?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's perfect. You even have the right orientation. Usually it's like with the vertical and the horizontal, it's a fight at the beginning, but perfect.
Yeah.
She doesn't mean fight.
Oh,
No,
no,
very simple for anyone else looking to join. That was very sweet, Mr. Taylor. I was going to say now I have a Microsoft laptop,
Yeah.
so I call it Macrosoft.
Oh, nice.
Microsoft. So carried
our,
on.
our former business partner Cam
Yeah.
was one of the first people I met on Instagram, but he called himself Instacam, which I thought was pretty on point. He's not even Instacam 452. He's just straight up Instacam.
That's pretty sweet.
My dad had bought the website tech.ca back when people were like chasing those three lettered URLs. So he had tech.ca,
TEC, right?
TEC.ca, which had really, he had it for years. I think he probably still has it, to tell you the truth. But I think his purpose was he thought he would sell it for $1 million. Tech.ca.
Does he still have it?
I'm not sure. I think he might have eventually just gave it up because I think you pay like $25 a year on it. And no one ever took him up on buying it for $1 million. So I think eventually he just passed it up and maybe somebody else.
Oh.
It might still be available. You know who might have it is Colin, because Colin does things like that too.
That's right.
He's got a license plate that's for sale.
Oh, that's funny.
So are you done your school year?
I am done my school year.
Are you done your school forever?
No, I have 2 more left.
And then what?
Well, that's the question. So I'm working for the city this summer.
Yeah.
I've really come to realize. So I'm in environmental engineering right now.
Right.
And I've just come to realize I don't admire or look up to any engineers, if that makes sense. But I do look up to a lot of teachers.
Oh, don't say it. Don't.
I know
We'll have to have an intervention.
Well, I'm seriously reaching out because I'm I don't know if that's a good idea.
Haven't I been telling you since I met you that you're going to be a teacher?
It's very true.
Yeah.
But
You will be a teacher. Please don't blame me, though.
Deal.
Blame Mr. McGregor.
But I'll definitely finish the degree and then go from there.
Yeah. And then will you teach things like math as well?
Well, I was thinking today, I made my ideal teaching schedule. I figured it would be calculus, math 10, physics 20.
Art.
Well, pottery I would like to do.
Drama.
Not drama. I don't think I'm there.
Music.
Music would be fun, but maybe I just key into some practices.
Do you also speak French?
No, I'm learning Spanish and Farsi right now.
Okay. What you have to do, and this is a little dodgy, but you have to be careful what you tell people you know. And I'll give you a perfect example. Is I was a lead designer at a graphic media place. And the designers had kind of a prestige over the HTML programmers. But it turned out it was harder to find HTML programmers than designers. So even though the designers got paid more and had more freedom and power, you had to keep it a secret that you could program HTML or you'd get demoted. And so let's say you spoke French and nobody told you not to tell anyone. Doesn't matter what you study. If you spoke French, you're teaching French. So you never tell people stuff like that. And I only tell you this because I think you have enough in your toolbox that you just pick what you're good at and what you want to do and keep the rest a secret till you need it. I really wanted this job. Oh, and also, did I mention I can speak, Farsi, just in case you need it? So
that's a good point, actually.
Which city are you working for?
The city of Calgary.
Ah.
Yeah.
Are you downtown?
No. Well, sometimes. I wish I was out of the municipal building, but I'm closer. I'm by Manchester.
Have you heard about my bad reputation?
No.
Don't ask about me.
Can I look you up on our city website?
Oh, yeah. Let me know if I'm on it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like a big warning.
that's funny.
Yeah. I don't know, actually. So I've rubbed a few elbows raw over the years, but usually it's for the good of things. And
Yeah.
people, even a lot of the people that don't like me tend to say, well, he does the right thing at the right time. So
Yeah, the city's pretty rigid, is what I'm. Good
But
people work there, but
I've had a few dealings with the city, and definitely, like, even when I tried to, the first time I contacted the city to register Rumble House, somebody answered the phone and just kind of explaining what I was going to do with my business. They're like, I don't know, man, that sounds a lot like Gorilla House. I was like, no, this is Rich.
This is me.
So sometimes it's quite favorable, and sometimes they're like, oh, not that guy. So if my name ever comes up, just sort of like maybe feel around and see where they stand before you mention it. I've got this friend who's a principal.
mm-hmm.
I always am cautious of telling people that we're friends. And he's really supportive. He'll often tell people, oh, I'm friends with Rich. And then they'll be like, what? Why didn't you ever tell me you knew Sean Marchetto? And I'm like, well, because I'm kind of like
worried
about his status.
reputation.
Yeah.
That's cute.
But I'm a bit of a disturber of the shit. So, yeah.
All for good reasons, I think.
Yeah.
Felix's mom was a environmental engineer.
Oh, cool.
And then she became a teacher, and that's how I met her.
What?
But there's Felix now.
Oh, and Zach. Here, sorry, I didn't mean to
And
interrupt.
so she was standing knee deep in some. Hello, Felix. She was standing some knee deep in some matter, and decided, like, her job was to decide if anybody should be standing in this area. And we came with the reading that said no human being should be in this area. Then she sort of questioned whether she wanted to be an environmental engineer, in the sense that, like, she's been testing to see if this was safe.
Is she still happy with her choice?
Well, she became a teacher, and she's quite happy with her choice, yes. But she became a math teacher with her engineering degree.
Yeah.
And then she did, like, sciences and things like that. Yeah.
Hello, guys.
Felix?
Yeah?
Do you want to see the Wolfman? It doesn't have the proper sound effects, so I'll show it again next week with the proper sound effects. But did you see it before?
No.
This is our most recent installment of Wolfman. Please imagine. So you can actually hear me using car sounds with my mouth before I ended up putting the car sounds in with a car. So it's got like, ready?
I like this cut.
Oops. What happened there? Present. Here we go.
Hey, Dad.
Yeah.
Isn't it weird that the car stopped again?
I can't believe it.
Oh, Dad, isn't it weird that the car stopped again?
I'm just going to take a minute here.
Do you think that's a good idea?
I'll be right back.
Is that such a good idea?
I think you know better. Know better after what happened last time.
I just, that car never works, and I'm just. Somebody else go, oh.
We are pretty cute, Rich, too.
It's so weird that we do that. Yeah, it's funny also because we shoot them at night, because so the green screen will work because it's so bright in this room. We also can't yell too loud, so it's like when you don't have a lot of times to make the screens work, I'll double up the sounds and not just make them louder, but double up and overlap them.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And then so when I don't, it's like it's awfully dead, like the silence there is like deafening when we're like screaming and Wait, is my sound working? Yeah, okay, good. Felix, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Yeah, so Felix.
Yeah.
Mark Vasquez is coming back into town.
Oh, cool.
And we're gonna have a show on my birthday after we go to LA.
All right.
Art show. And it's gonna be you, me, Jess, Mark, Zach, Salvador Dali, George Brock, and Carmen. Is that everybody? I lost you. Oh, and Richard Cox.
Zach, you cut your hair?
Summertime, baby.
Felix does not approve of short hair.
I kind of regret it. Everybody can do short hair, but
Yeah.
you know,
He's like, I thought we're in this together, man.
no, I let you down.
See that, Felix? It's time for summer short hair. Just ask Zach Abbott. Okay, quiet all of a sudden.
You got to just put him to work in the attic for a week, and
What happens in the attic?
Yeah.
it's infinitely sweatier in the attic. Summertime in the attic.
I'm sorry. Can you please tell me more about what you're doing in the attic?
Oh, I renovate houses. Oh, sorry. Yeah. That's pretty important context.
That's a conversation opener for sure.
Sorry. Yeah. I thought you knew me. I don't know. Yeah, get the kid doing drywall. He'll cut his hair. It's hot.
Okay, you're doing drywall, but like, are you specifically doing drywall in an attic?
I currently am.
Also, you say attic, and all I hear is addict.
Oh, no.
Just my ears at the Rumble House, where addictions was always a problem.
No, I'm working for the elite. I'm working for the 1%. They got addicts. Not
That is so funny you should say that. I'll tell you why. Is when I was a kid, my kindergarten teacher's name was Mrs. Perrin. And she must have come from a wealthy family because, do you know Edmonton very well?
you know.
Where the old provincial museum was is like kind of like our Mount Royal, like the really posh area
Okay.
of like 100-year-old houses.
Mm-hmm.
And Mrs. Perron had invited my entire grade 2 class to her house for a party. And it was like this old kind of heritage house. And in her heritage house was a cubbyhole closet that led to another place in the house. And it was quite remarkable, but had a secret stairwell. And oh, there we go.
Oh, nice.
That's better. I have dreams about the secret stairwell all the time. All the time I have dreams about. And it's also like part of the problem with the secret stairwell is it was a staircase that led to another part of the house. But it was also just barely big enough for a child. So I don't think my kindergarten teacher could use the secret stairwell. And maybe she just had us over because she was dying to see if it worked or something. I don't know. But
Let's see where these kids go.
it left a lasting impression that I often have these dreams about being in a house with a stairwell, and the stairwell keeps getting smaller and smaller. And I'm kind of like trying to work my way through it, but also getting kind of wedged in. But there's also somewhere near Kananaskis a mountain that I went to when I was younger, and I don't know what it's called, and I don't know where it is, but I do know that there were some ice caves there. And if you're skinny, you got to see more ice caves than everybody else. McKenna, do you know where I'm talking about? Thought maybe you ran there once. But, okay, let me describe it. Okay, first of all, I think it's called the Ice Caves, and I think people know about it. So it's not like a secret area. And you take a car there, and the car is a certain distance from where the ice caves are. You kind of go through this walking path, and then there's an entry, and you go into the ice caves. And I don't know if it's still this way, but you used to go in about maybe 50 feet, and then there was a crack that was about, maybe at its thinnest point, about 8 inches. So if I had a size 27 waist, I could go in. But if I ate a sandwich, I'm Winnie the Pooh, and I'm not coming out. And so I think it was kind of common for people to get stuck in the ice caves. Maybe I am making this up. But what I can tell you is not only were the ice caves, but they were also at the foot of a mountain, which I think we called Moose Mountain, but I'm not sure if it's really Moose Mountain. And you could kind of hike up to the top of Moose Mountain, but it was mostly loose shale. And I'm not sure if you're supposed to, but people did. And then at the top, there was a couple of erratics that were just kind of almost as though they were laid out to put a tent in. So if there was like 1, 2, 3, maybe 3.5 or 4 erratics that kind of circled this one space that was about the size of a tent, it really was inviting for teenagers to go and like rough camp at the top of this mountain. And then at the top of the mountain, you could see kind of like a ridge that went on forever. And then a couple kilometers away was a ranger station, which kind of what you expected somebody to drop by and say, you can't camp here, go home. But I have such vague memories of this because I wasn't really supposed to be there and often did stuff without paying attention. Want to know how much I didn't pay attention? This will make sense to Mac. You know, when our old school, if you went down and past where the Tim Hortons is, and then you go over a bridge, do you know what that bridge is? Okay. We used to ride, when I was a teenager, we'd ride from Calgary to Bragg Creek and have ice cream. And sometimes we'd get back on the highway. No, we'd have pie in Bragg Creek. And sometimes we'd get back on the highway and stop and tan at that bridge, and then get back on the bridge and ride into town and get an ice cream at McKay's. Now, this is how backwards my brain was back then. I was 16, so I was old enough to count, right? But I used to ride to Bragg Creek. We'd get on the highway and ride a little farther, and then I'd be in Cochrane. And I thought that Cochrane was the other side of Bragg Creek. So all the times when I would drive over this bridge to go to any other part of Cochrane, I'd be like, wow, this looks like that spot where we used to hang out when I was a kid. And I was like, this is totally that spot. And then we went to McKay's, and then we went up a really big hill. And I think I set my land speed record going down that hill on my Trek 1000. And it's just funny that like I never processed that that's a whole different town and a whole different town away from where we started out. But I guess in terms of Calgary, it was about a 45-minute distance from one side to the other side of Calgary. So it didn't seem weird to me that we'd get on the road, right, ride for 45 minutes and be at the far end of Bragg Creek. But that's how big I mistakenly thought Bragg Creek was. And another way to describe that is I was just way out to lunch.
We're focusing on other stuff too.
No, out to lunch. And I learned my most humiliating lesson right on those rides because I remember my friend Martin was from the Czech Republic, and he was infinitely tougher than I was. I think I was physically stronger, but he was infinitely tougher than I was. And I remember one time we rode out and it was spring and it felt kind of nice leaving the house. It might have been like 20 degrees and I wore shorts, and I don't think I had a t-shirt, didn't wear it most of the day. And then on the way back, it got cold, so I put my t-shirt on to get home. And then it got really cold. I remember I was hypothermic, and Martin took his shirt off and gave it to me. And I rode home with 2 t-shirts, and he rode home with none. And then for the rest of my life with him, I never got caught complaining about anything because I was just mesmerized how tough he was to ride home with no t-shirt at about 4 degrees in the spring. And what are the 2 places people jump off cliffs?
There's a good bridge in Seabee.
In where?
It's called Seabee. It's like on the highway that goes out to the mountains through Cochrane.
Yeah, and what's the other one?
That's the only one I've done out here.
Okay. So what I remember was one bridge was not as daunting as the other bridge. One was more kind of just right off the highway. The other one was like a giant, like 300-foot drop. That might have been something falls. It's amazing how little I know.
Ghost Falls or
something.
Troll Falls?
Something. But the lower one that I found way less daunting, I had jumped off of and hit the bottom of the river, and my shoe stuck into the muck. And for a split second, I was like, one foot was stuck in the muck at the bottom of the river.
Oh my God.
And I shook my foot loose, kind of panicking, thinking I was going to die. And then got out and realized, oh, that wasn't scary at all. And probably did it a few more times before I processed that I did lose my shoe in the muck the first time. So I had to ride back from, what are some other falls called? Elbow Falls.
Scott asked Lumbreck Falls. Oh, Elbow Falls.
Is Elbow Falls a place people might jump?
They're quite big, some of
Stupid
the
people?
points.
What about stupid people might jump there? Anyways, I had to ride home from Elbow Falls with one shoe. So what I did was I took the insole of the shoe I had, and I put 2 insoles together, and I put both socks. I had 2 socks and 2 insoles on one foot, and a barefoot with an empty shoe on the other foot. And I will tell you, it was kind of a long ride. I believe that was also before the 1A or before I knew about the 1A. They were kind of big in Hawkwood back then. Are you traveling at all this summer? Anybody?
I'm going to Ontario.
What are you doing in Ontario?
My dad's family's from there, so just
Ah.
a family trip.
How is your family, by the way?
Pretty good.
Are you still partially family with the Steinke's as well?
Little bit. I haven't seen them since, I want to say Christmas time,
Yeah.
but I think they're doing well. His daughter's really into bodybuilding, and she does all the crazy competitions.
Wow.
Yeah.
I will admit one day when you're in grade 7, you said, "Do you know Terry Steinke?" And I said, "Oh God, what have you heard?" When I became a teacher and people would go, "Oh, you're Priscilla's son. How's your brother?" And I'd say, "I don't have a brother." And they go, "The troubled one." I'm like, "Oh, he's better now." Okay, I'm not gonna lie, getting a little sick of this painting.
It's really like there's
You know what
so
it needs?
much.
It's more bikes.
Yeah, right?
You know what I don't feel like doing? More bikes. What I'm gonna do? More bikes. You know why? Because I don't feel like doing it. That is generally how I roll. If it's scary, go for it. Also, the phrase "go for it" a little cheesy.
So Scott says no, you would kill yourself off of Elbow or Limerick Falls.
No, it was Elbow Falls. I gotta look it up. Which Scott is that?
Scott Cork.
Yeah, no, I think it was Elbow Falls. I'm not bragging about good judgment when I tell you the story.
I think it's an example of not good judgment.
Yeah, no, it's the two places we used to jump were where stupid people went. Is Elbow Falls kind of like a lookout, or is it kind of just a hidden corner in the river?
It's a lookout.
Oh, okay. So you go there, and there's these little platforms, and then like a fence, and then when you go near the fence, a guy might come over and go, "You guys aren't going to jump off this, are you?" And then you no, and the next thing you know, your best friend jumps off, and you're like, "Okay, well, he's got the car key, so I guess I got to go too." And you might not even want to jump, but you realize all of your friends went over the edge, and now that cop that told you not to jump is kind of coming after you and kind of grabbing at your t-shirt. So to survive, you jump off the Elbow Falls. And actually one time, because I had a dislocated shoulder from wrestling, I jumped off that ledge. My arm dislocated in the water, and I was like trying to swim. And it wasn't until I got it. Oh yeah, for sure. No, where's Scott? Scott, you don't die because there's like a line attached to the water for people that fall in by accident, right? There's like a rescue line. But even worse, if Scott's there, and maybe Felix has turned out, I hope. If you do jump in the falls, you can kind of swim to the other side and go for a long height and jump even twice that high. But you need to have some cannonball privates to survive that one, because no matter how hard you hit the water, still gonna damage your landing point. Felix, are you coming in with us?
I saw him, and then I don't see him now, so I think he's figuring out his video.
I do like when people take their time with the video.
Yeah.
Because my worst fear is that somebody comes online without realizing they're online and they're not ready. Like maybe they're not fully dressed, or in the bathtub would be awkward. Like send somebody the link and they're just having a bath and they click on it. Like, hi, I'm uncomfortable. Super Mac, we saw your mom at the Beach Boys one time.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that Brian Wilson passed away today?
I was just listening to Brian Wilson by Bare Naked Ladies on the way home.
Yeah.
And it's because it was on CBC, but I didn't realize he died. That's too bad.
Yeah, and it's funny because all right, there's a lot of funny things about this, but I would have previously told you that Brian Wilson was my favorite Beach Boy, and Mike Love was my least favorite Beach Boy. And I hate to say this, but the Beach Boys really meant a lot to me as a kid, but then I kind of got swayed over like reading books and things, deciding that maybe I didn't love Mike Love as much as I thought I did. So he kind of turned into the bad guy for me for a little while. And while I was going through a phase where I was kind of like, I don't know the guy, but judging Mike Love, I also saw Love and Mercy, where they kind of paint him out to be the bad guy. Okay, so here's my story. Last year, we took the band kids and the art kids and the science kids to Disneyland. Did you know about this?
I don't think so.
Oh, and did you guys get to go to Disneyland? Okay, then maybe I shouldn't tell you the story. Thought I sensed a bit of a tone there. Okay, so, and actually I had no intention of going, but I have to travel with McGregor because he's got this Darth Vader pack on him now, and I'm the guy that knows how to reboot it. So we also went to San Diego Zoo and a few other cool places. And when I was at the San Diego Zoo, it so happened that we were all separated and everybody was kind of wandering around. And it so happened that I ran into McGregor and Cummings near the water fountain, and they were waiting for me, but I was sitting there helping students fill up their water bottles. But there's a lineup of our students filling up water bottles, and there's other people waiting, but because these kids were all together, they were all quite patient and were out letting the kids fill up their water bottles so they could go. And then, so while I was holding water bottles, there's this kind of, I don't know, he kind of looks like a lot of those people that wear those Trump hats. There's this kind of like middle-aged, maybe slightly older than middle-aged guy, politely waiting his turn to fill up his water bottle. And I thought to myself, man, that guy sure looks like one of the Beach Boys. And I'm almost 90% sure that's Mike Love. And so I'm kind of looking at him thinking, I think that's Mike Love. But McGregor and Cummings had no like reaction to this person. I'm like, I can't be the only person thinking that this is Mike Love. And he's being very patient, and I'm filling up these water bottles, and I go, hey man, you want to go next? And he's like, no, that's okay. And I'm like, dude, that's Mike Love's voice. I can't believe that guy looks so much like Mike Love and has his same voice. That's uncanny. And I was sitting there debating whether I thought it was Mike Love or not. And, he waited his turn. And then finally, when he was done, I held the water fountain for him to fill his water bottle. And then I think the other thing is that there's probably recognition on my face. And I think being Mike Love, he also recognized that I recognized him. And I think there was also an appreciation that I knew who he was, but I wasn't freaking out. All those things kind of happening in my head. I could be imagining the whole thing. However, where I was sitting there going, man, this guy looks a lot like Mike Love, and he even has Mike Love's voice. After he finished his water, he said something really abstract, like, I got to get back to my crew. And then he did this, like the finger punching guns. And I was like, oh my God, either that's Mike Love or somebody that makes a game out of pretending he's Mike Love. And then we got back to Calgary, and we're kind of missing Disneyland, and put on this documentary about the Beach Boys that was shot in Anaheim, like 2 weeks after we were there. And he pops up on screen, and not only did I confirm, like, I am positive that's the guy I stood in front of for 10 minutes at the San Diego Zoo, but then he even did the finger pointing shooting thing, the same thing on the documentary. So I fed water to Mike Love, one of the Beach Boys in Anaheim, and then he said, thanks, brother, and shot me with his finger guns. That's a real thing that happened. And now he's my favorite Beach Boy because I'm that shallow and easily manipulated. But I am quite, I'm not actually sad about Brian Wilson, because I think, like, I think of people as like proportionately how much they're there, right? And so my Uncle John had a stroke, and it didn't seem like he was my Uncle John. And then when he passed, it felt like, oh, now he's complete again. And I know that might be like selfish or bizarre, or maybe even like questionable on my part, but I do sort of feel like Brian Wilson is his whole self again.
I'm still wigged out about that because I never listened to the Beach Boys, and we listened to them all day today.
In class?
Yeah.
Oh, is it possible that somebody had mentioned?
No, I put on, like, I just chose a good album for like good vibes.
Yeah.
And that fit with lots of different grade levels.
Gotta keep those loving good.
And from grade 4 to 9, baby. Everyone loved it, and it was just like a weird.
Okay, well, what about this? Because here's sometimes it seems like magic or kismet, and sometimes it just makes sense. So I think a lot of teachers die in June. That's because, like, June comes, they've been retired for 15 years, and then they go, okay, it's June, I can relax now, and they thread the needle, as Alex said. Yeah. And I think that they let their guard down, and it's just a good time for them to carry on to wherever they go. It's possible that it makes sense to us to listen to the Beach Boys in the spring. It's possible that it makes sense to Brian Wilson that if he was clinging on to Dear Life, maybe
wait till the sun comes.
Maybe the summer is a good time to let go, at the end of spring and the beginning of summer. But I am very happy to think that he's probably in a better place and where he should be, and whole again. My aunt is close to the end right now. I just found out the other day. She seemed pretty with it the last time we saw her,
Mm-hmm.
but things seem to move pretty fast for her.
It's interesting when you get to be a certain age, like one thing could change or just like you said, it's like your time. You're waiting for a certain time.
McKenna, is your sister in school? What's your sister doing?
She goes to Cochrane High.
Why not my school?
I don't know.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, she's doing pretty well. I'm actually surprised she hasn't barged in yet.
To the show?
Yeah.
She's welcome.
Well, I don't know, but thanks.
Is that her now?
That is my mom. Hello. I'm on with Mr. Teru and his art show.
Oh, Mr. Teru and his art show. McKenna's busy arting in here.
We were just talking about running into you at the Beach Boys, and Brian Wilson passed today.
I know. That's sad.
And then I told my whole story about how I ran into Mike Love last year at the San Diego Zoo.
At where?
The San Diego Zoo.
Oh, did you?
Maybe. I'm pretty sure I did.
Oh, wow.
But that's the nature of that story. Is I was only 90% sure it was him.
Oh, okay. Well, believe it.
This is my painting here. Well, and it actually kind of makes sense because I think they were shooting a documentary about the Beach Boys that week.
Oh, okay.
So he lives in California, but the guy I ran into was I think he was with an entourage, and he called them his crew. And I think he also
probably was.
Maybe had his kids or grandkids at the zoo.
That's neat. That's neat. Well, I know why McKenna was so excited to get set up down here tonight.
Well, we're all famous now. This is a little daunting. Around 14,000 people watch this every week.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Well, there's currently 6 right now. And that's crazy because between now and next Wednesday, our views it'll be exposed to around 10,000 people. And then of the 10,000 people that it pops up before their eyes, there's around 14,000 views. So generally it's about 1.5 views per person. Now you don't know if they're watching it for a minute or for 2.5 hours, but generally it's hard to get feedback from the statistics we get because the YouTube and the Facebook and the Instagram, they're all expecting like 30-second views, and we're doing a 2.5-hour show. Okay. But it's actually kind of interesting that we do so well because the 14,000 views would indicate that a lot of people see it and then stop it and then start it again and watch it later.
Incredible.
And there's actually a pretty big body of people that were watching from hospitals because they were going through a life situation where they had to slow down for a bit. So when we shut Rumble House down, we knew that there was people that were checking in with us every week. We said this weird puppet show.
Incredible. So you don't have a physical location anymore? Rumble House is just virtual now and in your own?
Yes. Yes. Okay. I will be having a show this summer in Inglewood, but
you'll have to let us know.
I will, I promise.
Maybe McKenna will bring me.
It'll be on my birthday.
Oh, what day is your birthday?
I'm born on the 17th, but we opened Gorilla House on the 17th, and then every Wednesday since then we've applied my birthday to whatever was the closest Wednesday.
Okay.
This particular time the show is going to be on the 18th, but it'll be the 13-year anniversary of opening Gorilla House, which was our first space. A whole bunch of other weird because we opened Rumble House 6 months to the day that we opened exactly a year to the day that we opened closed our Gorilla House. We opened Gorilla House on my birthday. We shut it down in a year and a half after my birthday. And we reopened the other place exactly a year later. So we have a birthday and a half birthday for everything we do, basically.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, I look forward to spending the time with McKenna there and seeing you.
What painting would you like as a gift when you get there? You have to pick as a family.
What's that?
You'll have to pick as a family.
We'll do that.
Oh, you know what? I tell you what. You come to my opening, and there will be a Beach Boys painting for you.
Okay. That's a wonderful thought. Thank you.
I have a question. I don't want to out your daughter, but did you know she's thinking about becoming a teacher?
McKenna has been thinking about becoming a teacher since you taught her.
I probably said you have to be a teacher.
And then she decided to go to be an engineer. So she got a couple years in and she informed me that she was going to become a teacher.
Yeah, I could see it in her.
So I informed her that she would finish her engineering degree and then could become a teacher.
Yeah, and you get a ring, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have an engineering jacket, or is that just particular to the one school?
They're kind of too nerdy for me, I think.
You didn't get one?
No.
Are you a rebel engineer? I love that. You were the only rebel engineer ever, though.
She's still Super Mac all the way.
Yeah. My computer at school's named Super Mac because she just happened to be sitting nearby when I had to name the Macintosh computer I was loading in.
Yeah.
And I was downloading something today, and whenever I'm Bluetoothing, it comes up. They're like, "What the hell is Super Mac?" I'm like, it's far too complicated to even explain.
That's funny. I love it. Yes, I have no doubt she will become a teacher.
Yeah.
And she will be, she'll be a valuable one with her engineering degree in there. Yeah.
The kids that I don't think are going to be teachers, I always bet them. It's a sucker's bet because, like, let's say if a kid's like kind of he's a lot of trouble or whatever, I'll go, "You'll be a teacher." And I'm like, "I'll never be a teacher." I'll go, "I bet you $100 you become a teacher." And they go, "I'll never be a teacher." I'll go, "I bet you $100." And then they bet me, and I go, "Well, this is what a sucker's bet is, okay? You could come back when you're 30 and say, 'See, I'm not a teacher,' and it doesn't mean you're not going to be a teacher because there's still time to become a teacher." Basically, at the point where you know that you didn't become a teacher, you're dead. So at the time that I lose the bet, I don't have to pay you. But if any of the people I made this bet with become teachers, they each owe me $100. Now, no, because I actually meant it when I said I thought she'd be a teacher.
She would be a fabulous teacher. I agree.
I don't think there was any question in my mind that was going to happen. But I also know that it's kind of like, okay, between what I do, talking kids into being artists or teachers, sometimes there's a lot of angry phone calls like, "My son was headed for marketing and now he wants to be an artist."
You know what? Had she come right away and said, "I want to go be a teacher," that's what she would be doing now. But she entered into that engineering world, and I think she needs to finish it.
I don't think first of all, being an engineer teacher will really increase her status.
Yeah, and I think just even like the experience that she's had already, like going to Bolivia. Did she tell you about going to Bolivia?
No, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I think we knew that she was going to go to Bolivia.
Went to Bolivia and did a bridge build there so kids could cross the river to go to school safely.
Oh my gosh.
And she's been president of that organization for the last year. So she's had some great, it hasn't hurt her.
Yeah.
At first, it's a terrible first year degree. You know that? It's,
Hopefully Kevin and I retire by the time she becomes a teacher.
I was going to say maybe you'll be teaching with her.
Well, I was just saying because then we'll all look bad compared to her. We'll have to up our game. Well, my art plan is I get to retire before my wife, and I've actually created a classroom that's almost impossible to replicate. So what I'm imagining is anybody willing to teach 5 art classes at once. By the time I resign or retire, I'm expecting that Jess will be the only one that can replace me.
That's right.
And so even if McKenna takes her time, my plan is to work until retirement. When I retire, I'm hoping they take her spot or they give her my spot, and then I'll just show up and hang out in the art room as a non-teacher volunteer.
That's right.
So if I feel like going for a coffee, I will. If I want to go explore that Thunder Trail, I'll go do that. And if they have a staff meeting, I'm out of there. But I'll be able to just sit there and be kind of an in-house painter and volunteer in the classroom.
That'd be all good. Well, you know what? We will see you in August.
Okay.
And I'm gonna go take Miss Matea to bed because you remember her. When she's done, she's done.
Oh, can we say hi to Mateo?
Yes, Matea, can you come say hi to Mr. Tabor and Jess? Come say hello. They'll be surprised at how big you are. Yeah, come say hello.
Oh, can I bring it here?
I can't bring it here. You
Nobody?
come. Not in the mood?
Can I bring it here?
No, we can't bring it there. I don't think that's gonna happen.
Okay.
She wants me to bring you there, but
That was
she's
cute.
Yeah, but she's grown up. She's 16 now.
Yeah.
I'm a big kid now.
You are a big kid now. All right, we'll see you guys. Have fun.
Take care.
Happy to see you. Bye.
Yeah.
What do you think of my critical mass painting?
You can feel it.
Show you guys something I've been experimenting with here. Hang on. We ordered some cyanotypes. Do you know where that pile went?
Oh yeah, here.
What is it that's flickering?
That.
Oh,
That. Oh no, I don't know where your pile went.
how many minutes do we got left?
9. I'm not good. 45 plus half an hour. Did you find them?
Well, not the ones I wanted to share.
Are they?
Under the paper? No.
Oh, not the ones
Under
in the
this?
frames.
What?
Not the
Oh,
ones.
here they are.
Got.
Okay. So, do you guys know what cyanotype is? It's kind of the same as blueprints. So these are the two of the same painting photos. If I can, I'm gonna just switch the screen over for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do this one, and then I'm gonna put this here. So this is Felix with this. This is a picture of Felix when he was a little guy. This is the same one. Too much light. Ooh, wrong side. There we go. Made sense to me. This is the same photo. You can see one was in the sun longer. So this one, actually, I prefer this one because it's you have to kind of hunt for the image. But they're basically like, well, in this case, they can be like photographs, right? So what you do is you make an inversion. You print out on a screen a what's it called?
Negative?
Negative. It's not a hard word.
No.
And then you put it on the blue piece of paper. It's green when you first pull it out. And your negative will cook the cyanotype so that just washes off. And where you've covered the, is that how it goes? Where it covers... No, where you cover it, the cyanotype turns really dark blue, and where you've covered it with the black, it cooks off, and you can rinse it off in the water. So you take your photographs, and you can print out these images, and make your own photographs, and they're all blue. And this is what I've been doing with my time lately.
It's cool because you do like a shot of a bunch of them and then you let them sit in the sun. That's been really cool to watch you do that.
Let's put this back in and I'll try it here. So here's one. Door set up. So these are photographs. You can also put plants and things onto the cyanotypes, and because the plants are going to absorb light, they're really good at blocking the sun. Ooh, 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 ooh. And this year I got to teach Science 14 and Science 24, which I really loved, because when I previously taught science, I was teaching science to younger kids. And then I studied some science in university, but it was like a higher, more anthropology, not, well, soft science, but it was more anthropology at a university level. So there's some high school stuff that I was kind of kicked out of class for. And so I got to relearn a bunch of stuff. I thought I would drive Mr. Cummings nuts, so I never told anybody at our school that I had taught science. And then when the opportunity for Science 24 and 14 came up, I found out, and I was quite proud that Mr. Cummings had recommended me for it. So they said, "Do you want to teach Science 24?" I'm like, "You better talk to Travis, because I might drive him crazy." They're like, "Travis recommended you." I was like, "No, no."
That is so sweet.
Yeah, it is.
You guys are so cute.
Yeah. We had a nice time bonding in LA, because we both had shattered childhoods and had some trauma going to Disneyland as adults. Whereas Kevin, who's an only child, just kind of expects to go to Disneyland on a regular basis. So.
And had nice memories.
Had nice memories. I was the reason why we didn't go on holidays. I think I'm done this one. Is there any bike that I forgot to put the shadow down?
It's so good, right?
Bikes and shadows. Oh my God. What is wrong with me?
What?
Well, I'm exhausted from this painting, but we've only been on for an hour and 20 minutes. We're not even half over. That's why I have so many paintings.
You're prolific. It's a nice thing. Hey?
Mm-hmm.
Look, I finished my moon.
Oh, you know what's funny?
What?
Is I misread the eyeballs on this.
Oh.
I thought your moon had many eyeballs.
Oh, that's cool.
It should, though.
Mm-hmm. I can still. You're right.
Do you want to switch in this spot for a bit? Be the center of attention?
Sure.
I'm going to try and move this. Where did this paper come from? Will I regret putting a sky in here?
No, I don't think I'd regret that.
McKenna, you know what humbled me when I became a teacher in Cochrane?
What was that?
I often fake my skies. So to me, a sky is empty space. I haven't painted any sky in here, and if I were to put clouds, I would basically just splash some water and let the ink play a bit. But I started teaching out in Cochrane, and I'd have these kids just fixated on getting the sky right before they even started. They paint like weeks on trying to make the perfect sky. And I'm like, no, it's fine. You can just leave the sky blank. It's just empty. And I was humbled to realize that I don't really know skies the way Cochranites, that's the proper term. Mm-hmm. People from Cochrane know skies way better than me. And actually, I had to reprocess my brain to work out there on so many levels. Thank God for Johnny Cash. But I did find that one of the first things I realized is I can't see the sky the way somebody that lives in Cochrane can see the sky. Mm-hmm. I live downtown where there's high rises everywhere, and I don't see the same thing when I look up. Mm-hmm. And also in teaching Science 14 this term, one day I just needed a break, so I said, let's go for a walk, and I was trying to think of an excuse to go outside. So my wife is always talking to me about
cumulus
nimbus clouds. I'm like, nobody cares about cloud names. And knowing the names of clouds is kind of like pointless, but then learning the names of clouds is different than knowing the names of clouds. We went outside to look at we spent like 15 minutes studying the different kinds of clouds, and we went outside and I saw 14 different kinds of clouds all at once. And everybody was mesmerized except from this one kid that came in late and he's like, there's nothing in the sky but clouds. I'm like, that's so funny you'd say that, because I am, for the first time in my life, seeing 14 different kinds of clouds, and you're just seeing an empty sky. Do you know your cloud names?
Not since grade 3.
See, Jess really liked grade 3, and she's always telling me
Maybe
what
it
kind
was
of
a
cloud is
highlight,
over
yeah.
her head. Yeah.
Downhill from there. No, I was kidding.
I'm not going to put a sky in here. Okay, moving it. No drips.
I'm proud. I'm proud of you. You're doing good.
Yeah. I'm putting it by the front door. No,
Well-
I'm not. We have nowhere in the house to put this flat. That's how full our house is right now.
On top of the record player? No.
No, I got drips. It'll.
Oh.
Please, boss. Don't make me paint no more big ones, boss. That's a big one. What?
I did this in a weird order, this
What
painting.
does that mean?
Like usually I'm like sky and then kind of coming closer, but like this one.
Okay, again, being humbled by the kids in Cochrane, I picked that up from Sophie McCullough. Is she was doing watercolors,
Yeah.
and I saw her struggling to work the background around the foreground,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, "What on earth would make you want to paint
Yeah.
that way?" Because I teach the kids, you put the wash in the sky,
Yep.
and you work the farthest back, and that way, if you have a line that swoops across, and then you put a
Mm-hmm.
train in front of it, it's a continuous swoop in the sky behind.
Mm-hmm.
And she just like, nah, I like to do it this way. I'm like, that's crazy. But because I like to listen, I watched and was humbled to realize that you can just paint the sky in around it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a thing I was teaching wrong for 20 years because
Not wrong, because I would also say like to paint the back end is a way to find success.
can I say
But
it's not wrong that I told them to do this way.
yeah,
It was absolutely wrong that I thought there was a right answer.
That's fair.
Right? Kind of like the color wheel.
Right.
Kind of like how I thought there was a color wheel and there was such a thing as primary colors. And then I proved myself wrong and shit went sideways.
All over the place.
Were you there for that, Super Mac? Yeah. There's a thing called Cochrane Rants and Raves, which I'm not part of because I don't live in Cochrane. And apparently that I know of, my only entry of Cochrane Rants and Raves is me running through the woods yelling, green and yellow make blue, green and yellow make blue, that's the standard belief. What I was going through was that green and orange can make yellow. That's why a particular artist threw paint at my head and said he paid me $117,000 that I couldn't do it. Gotta keep those loving good vibrations happening, baby. I bet you it's not as good when I sing it.
It is so good.
You often wonder like how bad things sound outside of your head versus inside your head.
I have wondered that a lot.
Yeah, yours always sounds good outside of your head.
I don't know about all of
What
it.
you do.
You're very sweet.
Okay. I have to clean this mess up. Oh, we have not been listening to that. We're gonna have a nice record session tonight. I tell you.
Well, that's good because the one I put on last night had a skip in it.
And no, it didn't. It didn't skip.
It did this
That was a
morning
skip?
again. Yeah.
Near the end, or oh no, Kamasi, Washington.
Yeah.
I'd buy another. I'd buy that.
We
twice.
have a cleaner.
Gotta keep.
Oh, I remember we. Wow.
I know that's what I'm saying.
We are gonna have a nice.
Little, I don't feel weird about death. I don't think. Started with my Uncle Joe. Uncle Joe died when I was 5. He was 105, by the way. He's my grandmother's uncle.
What? That's crazy.
And she called me from Bonneville to tell me old Uncle Joe passed. And I was like, that's okay. And I just didn't feel the loss or the pain that people feel. I was just like, Uncle Joe's where Uncle Joe's supposed to be. And Uncle John, I used to have guilt over it. I don't really get upset when people die. But I think at the core of it is just a feeling that there's something better.
Right.
Even if it's just becoming plasma. I still think that I just have a weird feeling about that one. Mac, do you have an idea which district you want to teach in?
No idea, but it would be cool. I always thought it would be neat to go up to Nunavut for 2 years or more years.
Oh yeah, yeah. Why that one particular place? Because it's the highest.
Yeah.
Highest point. Oh, look at all this stuff. We buy. Oh, is this a 45? We have problems. Look at. We have records we don't even know about.
So many problems, but good problems.
Oh, a surprise 45. Why would this be in here? It's got to be a record we'd never heard of before. Losing my mind. How do we not know there's a surprise 45 in there? It would only make sense if that was a record of songs that like surprise songs. Oh, wait. Who was listening to was it you that was listening to the Bare Naked Ladies?
No, Superman.
Were they singing about Brian Wilson?
It's in their song.
Yeah.
There's a song called Brian Wilson.
Yeah. Is it lying in bed like Brian Wilson did?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he stayed in bed for like 8 years or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually pretty crazy, amazing that he just passed away today.
It was a rough ride.
Right? Like he did a lot and he made it through a lot.
I think because he was a super feeler.
Yeah.
Some people just got too much feelings. Oh my god, there's books in here. We're bad. Like, I guess we just threw the records on and didn't notice all this like content.
Or sometimes it's like we look at them, but then
A
we
lot
get
of it-
overwhelmed by
a lot of it.
stuff,
We're
too.
also listening to records while we're painting and stuff.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm just moving into my apartment after 13 years.
True, right? Like that's
And we hadn't seen the sunsets in here at all because we would get home from work and then bust over to the gallery to get the gallery open. And then we moved in here and we have the most amazing sunsets. How are we going to listen to all these at once?
we have 5 records.
Oh my god, one set of ears. Also, I think I'm going to mix them up a bit.
I will hope.
No, I just don't know where the content this record came from. What if they're brand new songs? How much time is left?
An hour?
I could very well spend the rest of this hour just looking. This is a weird picture. Because do you see this picture?
Mm-hmm.
Because this is some weird, like, bad Photoshop here.
Mm-hmm.
This is not an authentic picture. And it's of Brian Wilson. But, like, it looks like pre-Photoshop. They put his face in, like, missing an ear. And his face doesn't match the hair. Something particularly strange happened where they maybe they placed somebody there in a wig and then photoshopped his image over top. This one's with the Royal. Why don't we listen to this every day? I'm too excited. It's gonna be a short broadcast tonight. Should I paint all the Beach Boys, or maybe that makes sense? Big feelings. When I was a kid, I loved the Beach Boys, and that goes back to my Uncle John. My Uncle John liked the Beach Boys, and so Glenn liked the Beach Boys, and I liked the Beach Boys, and it was something Glenn and I had in common, even though I was a little kid. And then,
Well, I'm sure they used that too as well in there.
yeah. Wait, let me just think. Also, Louis Armstrong, because I didn't know that my uncle had cool taste in music, and he also didn't know that I had cool taste in music. So I had gone out to Vancouver. We used to spend summers in Coquitlam, and there's like a kids table in my family, so like really didn't have a lot of contact with the adults, right? Like we'd sit at the kids table and eat hot dogs, and they'd have steaks, and there'd be like this weird kind of tension when you tried to have a conversation with one of the grown-ups. They're polite and funny, but it was more like they would more talk to each other. And I remember I was loading my Sony Walkman, and my Uncle John said, he might have just asked me, like, what are you listening to? And I was like, Louis Armstrong. And he's like, you're listening to Satchmo? And I was like, who the hell is Satchmo? And he was pretty impressed with me that I'd come across Louis Armstrong on my own. Be like, kind of like when Felix was playing Blink-182, really.
Right.
Like, not that impressive but he wasn't expecting me to be a Louis Armstrong fan. And I think like even like with the Beach Boys and Jan and Dean, I think I probably thought like that was our music, and it was weird that my uncle listened to surf rock.
Right. That's interesting.
Wouldn't have occurred to me that like long before I was born, he might have been a guy that owned all kinds of albums that I would never own. I also remember when I was in high school, my teachers that were in their 40s seemed unfathomably old, like thousands of years old. And that was a weird experience because I also thought these guys were old enough to go to Woodstock. That was like, you know, if your grandpa hunted brontosaurus or something, like, you know, like you could have gone to Woodstock and you didn't. Like, what were you doing that weekend? They're like, no, you don't understand. It wasn't in Canada. It was like, this is the thing happening far, far away, you know, and you weren't going to drop out of school to go all the way across the country to go see some concert that nobody knew was going to be important. It became important after they pulled the fences down. Even the people that put on Woodstock had no idea what it was going to be. And then the crowds kind of overran them. But Mr. Verhappen was a teacher in my school. He was an adult, and I thought he was like 160. And then you become an adult. It's hard to fathom that the kids see you as these
dinosaurs,
old ruined things, you know? Who's your favorite Beach Boy?
Me?
No.
I always had an affinity for Brian Wilson because he was the originator. Like he
The
was
writer.
pushing,
Right.
and like called crazy for his ideas.
As a kid,
And struggling.
For me, it was Dennis Wilson.
Because
he was a badass and he fell in the ocean and disappeared.
I didn't know as much about them when I was little, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess. Like, maybe part of it was because it was like folklore in my family that was like passed down.
Right.
Like I was saying about having to learn about Miles Davis on my own in books. I was taught how to listen to the Beatles by my mom.
Yeah.
She gave me the records in the right order. And Glenn used to sit down and give me lessons on the Beach Boys and Jan and Dean.
Aww.
Like, I remember being in his basement that always smelled like must because it was super wet there. And he was reenacting the crash of Dead Man's Curve with Hot Wheels cars, showing me in great detail how this car came around the corner. But there was also a weird thing that happened that Dean, Jan and Dean, Jan Berry and Dean Torrance were surf musicians. They had a song called Dead Man's Curve. And then Jan drove his Stingray into the back of a logging truck. They made a movie about it. And so I was often confused because the details of the song Dead Man's Curve were not exactly coherent with the movie depiction about how he crashed his car. And it was just a coincidence that he wrote a song about crashing a car and then did in the same kind of car. When we saw Mac's mom at the Beach Boys, we were there with Peggy, who had dated more than one of the Beach Boys.
So sweet.
So we were sitting in the front row, and she was giving a couple of them the stink eye, which was fun.
Always fun.
Kind of added to the mystique of running into Mike Love at the. I don't know if I can tell that story because I can't say definitively that I did run into him, other than the pistol fingers.
So good.
Do you remember me going through the realization when we were watching the documentary?
When you were telling it, I was like, yeah.
And had I already told you about that, or did I write the whole thing off?
No,
I told you that I thought I saw him.
Yeah.
And then also, I think part of what contributed me into thinking, well, same thing happened when I saw the Rubik's Cube, and Pat Daddy told me it was impossible. I was like, oh, maybe I just imagined it. This is like my brain, like, oh, maybe I made that up.
I was like gonna say that, like when you're talking about your like memories of different things, you're like, and I could have just like fabricated this part. So like, well, no, like it came from somewhere.
I am always on my guard for madness.
That's fair. I should learn from you. Being that conscientious.
Here's me not arguing with you.
But just to, like you said, like to be conscientious and
it's just like I had a week like that this week where it's like it seemed like I was battling with everybody, and after a while, like it maybe if everybody seems wrong to me, that might be a signal that I should check myself, because if everybody seems, I often wonder when I was dealing like at the gallery with the people that were struggling with reality, why they can't, like sometimes they would know that they were struggling with reality, but they would still be fixated on fighting with me about something that was clearly, you know, that one fella that came in with no shoes and he was time traveling, and part of me thinks like he's like testing me to see how open-minded I am when he's telling me he's time traveling.
Yeah.
But then he said, I gave him my shoes, I had an extra pair. And then he said he's going to visit Trudeau that week. And for some reason, he got mad because I wasn't going to help him with something. I was like, look, man, like 1 minute you're telling me you're going to see Trudeau. The next minute you don't have shoes. You can't go see Trudeau without shoes.
Right.
You just don't do that. That's not a thing.
It's true.
You can't meet the prime. This is years ago. You can't meet the prime minister if you don't have shoes on. It's like
no shoes, no shirt.
Minimum dress code expectation that. I also always leaving for the possibility that if he was time traveling and I didn't believe him, what a like giant F over that would be.
Like you said, when the kids are like telling you about the monster.
You always got to give the possibility that there's a monster there. There was a line about that in World War Z that I would like to check and see if it's culturally factual, where they said the 11th man was, if 10 people believe something's impossible, it's the obligation of the 11th to believe it and treat it like it could be true.
Yeah.
And that sounds like maybe like a thing that might just be from a film, or maybe look that up and see if that's an actual philosophy that somebody out there is following. I kind of like it though.
I do too.
What kind of paper is this, by the way? I just grabbed it, but it's like, it almost like that photo repro. You see how the water's like.
Yeah.
spooling, and pooling.
It's really cool.
I think we'll have to do another deep dive through my social media to make sure I haven't said anything inappropriate about the American president. We're going to travel to the States.
No, like we'll always check in, but I think you've been really like.
Nope. I'm telling you.
You're hilarious. Nope, I'm telling you. We'll do a cleanup day.
We can't win, really, because I think every time I've said we're crossing the border, people kind of either look at me like, what the hell? Or they look at me like, what the hell? But either way, there's a what the hell factor.
Right.
And
you are Rich Teru.
Yeah.
You do this.
The answer is we haven't been able to take a holiday longer than 4 days for the last 12 years. So we are taking a trip. Come high water and hell.
All of it.
Yeah, both. But some people are upset that we're not worried, and some people were upset that we were going because our elbows aren't up. But I want to go and create some goodwill,
I think,
and support for those that are doing their best.
Yeah. I think that's very nice.
But at the border, mum is the word. Drill, baby, drill. I don't really think that.
I have to delete this post.
Who's beeping?
I am. There's a lot of.
Rich, shut your gob.
No,
Kevin's texted me. What's he got to say? Maybe he's watching the broadcast. Oh! What? People are plugging the flowers into the National Guard's rifles.
That's cute.
I'm going to do that. I want to do that. I want to be that guy.
Hey, Jess.
Yes.
So I almost got them done. See?
Oh, cute.
So there's chain that is here, but it will be attached to the top of the lid.
Yeah.
And then this piece comes down, the main, where the bunny is. It
yeah.
Down.
That's cute.
Yeah.
Ellie, do you know why
cool.
The word beach is a sensitive subject in our house?
No.
Is Felix still with us?
No, I haven't seen Felix. He dropped out.
Oh. So here's the reason why Beach Boys is a sensitive subject in our house. For some reason, when Felix was a baby, even before he could spell, he would pronounce all the vowels in every word. He's actually still not a great speller. But for some reason, when he was a kid, he knew all the vowels. And I'd never really thought about the vowels until Felix started like breaking down words. So I remember specifically we were in Sylvan Lake. And because he would pronounce all the vowels, he wanted to go back to the biatch after we had ice cream. And everywhere we went, he'd be talking about the biatch. And I remember we're standing in line and we kept talking about going to see the biatch. And we're like, listen, we're going to call it beach from now on. But it's like kind of a point of like horror and terror for everyone in our family. What were some other funny words he said?
Trying to think.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got them all. That's fast. Oh, I've got time for one more painting. I don't want to do any more paintings. I do. McKenna was presumptuous. Is she still with us? I don't see her. Did you lose her?
Oh, maybe she had to go.
Oh. Oh, I had to log off, but still painting. Okay. McKenna, if you're still with us watching, it was presumptuous of me to assume that you liked the Beach Boys just because we saw your mom at a Beach Boys concert. But so this will be for your mom, and then you let me know what painting you'd like. Sometimes it's just like people had free tickets and they don't have the heart to tell you that they're not really Beach Boys fans. But I think I'm kind of happy with this one.
Yeah, that is really cool paper.
Kelly,
Yeah?
do you know my secret for random?
No.
Want to know?
Sure.
Sometimes when you try and do random, it starts looking very calculated. So my secret for random is to do packs of 2. So I'll go tap, 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 tap. Sometimes I go 3, tap, tap, tap. But by creating a pattern, I actually end up doing a better job of random. Rather than trying to go random and just go all over the place, which ends up making a pattern, I go tap, 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 tap. This is kind of nice because I'm getting little splashes that are creating a few. Not crazy about this one. Snacks. For Teiru. Did that make sense the way I explained it?
Yep.
Yep. Want to know something crazy?
What?
Well, the only thing that's nice that Jess and I have are our carpets and our records.
Nice.
We have nice stuff, but we have some nice carpets. And then I wondered if I could use ChatGPT to tell me more about my carpets. And it did. It told me all about my carpets. And it also told me the value of my carpets and the thread count and all kinds of things. And then it offered to take a look at my paintings. And I was able to put my paintings into ChatGPT. It knew who I was, it recognized my style. Well, it was kind of shy about it. It was kind of coy, like, oh, this could be a Rich Teiru. And I put a Salvador Dali in. It's like, oh, this could be a Salvador Dali. And then it tells you the value of your paintings. It tells you the value of your paintings based on where you're selling it from. It can interpret the meaning and thoughts behind your paintings better than a lot of people that kind of, if you ever showed a painting and people don't get it, like, is amazingly astute, this ChatGPT, to infer. I also saw Zach this last week, put a few of my contemporaries' works in, and it could tell who was using a projector and not. So that was pretty fun. Not that you're not allowed to use a projector if you want to, or ChatGPT for that reason. For that matter. But it's interesting that it can bust them. What are you making? Let's put yours in front of the thing.
Oh, it's turning out.
Okay.
I really like that.
So this will really be for Super Mac, and then if she wants to share it with her mom, she can. I do remember Terry Steinke also liked the Beach Boys. Mm-hmm. I think by the time I met Terry, he liked the Beach Boys, and I'd kind of settled down on I preferred Jen and Dean. And it's funny because when you read the stories of Jen and Dean, you got these Beach Boys ripping off their ideas. And then when you read stories about the Beach Boys, you got this Jen and Dean duo ripping off their ideas. And, you could read Steve Jobs' story and find out that Bill Gates ripped off his ideas, or you could read Bill Gates' story and find out Steve Jobs ripped off his ideas. And it's just really on who's telling the story. Unless we're talking about me, and then everybody rips off my ideas.
Rich Teiru has good ideas.
Yeah. You know who has good ideas? Rich Teiru. Want to know something about Super Mac?
Yeah.
I always get anxious with a lot of my kids because they're so amazing, and I want to be more like them when I grow up. That I often feel like what's that, like imposter syndrome, like trying to be a good role model when I'm like looking to the kids as role models.
That's pretty sweet.
Like Zach Abbott. If I only had the presence of mind that Zach Abbott has at his age, when I was his age. When are we going to that show? The
June 21st.
June 21st. That seems like a million years from now. Let's do our faces.
How's the buzz about that show? Am I nervous about getting a ticket, or?
Are you going to be here?
Yeah, I'm coming through for the Alan Watts gig. Yeah.
What about the art show in July, though? Are you coming twice? Or are you staying?
Yeah, because the Alan Watts gig is, a cheap flight, and then the art show is like a real trip.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking if you wanted to drive out first and leave your work, we could store it for you, and then you could fly out for the show.
Oh, that's cool.
Whichever works for you better, you let me
And
know.
then get a limo from the airport?
Get a limo from Van Groovy. Do you know about this whistle?
It sounds clownish.
It is. It was the most mesmerizing sound in any of the Bob Dylan songs. It's actually just in one song, but I kind of imagine that Bob Dylan played this instrument all the time.
Oh, that's a good track too.
Yeah, and then so
in the basement cooking up the medicine.
Yeah, and it really, really, really stuck in my mind as the essential sound that you'd have to have, right? But also totally inaccessible.
Right.
Here, I'll play it, and then you play it back. Ready? Not the same. So, okay. So we went and saw the biopic of Bob Dylan, which was like lovely, but weird because like I don't know much about Timothy Chalamet, but it didn't line up for me. But I still loved it. And then in the film, he buys one of these just off as a street vendor. I was like, oh, that's what those look like. And so I'd never actually seen one before. But on the way home, I'm like instructing Jessica, can you order one off the internet? And we're a bad team because I'm counting on her to talk me out of this stupid shit. And she's actually full on getting me. So this should be a 50-cent whistle. However, can you see it up close in the corner? It's an Acme police whistle from the 1800s that the cops used to be like when they're chasing people. And this one was like a historical artifact, but it ended up costing us more than, a lot of people might spend on shoes or an expensive dinner.
Not an expensive dinner.
Fancy jeans. And so I'm talking about I can't live without one. She's like, well, do you want the like classic one or do you want one made out of plastic? I'm like, no, it's got to be the classic one. She orders it. I'm like, how much was it? And she's like, she tells me, I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? I'm really glad I have it. So it came in the mail while my arm was broken and dislocated. And we went to see, was that when we went to go see, what did we go see that night?
Bob Dylan.
No.
Oh, we watched Bob Dylan when we shut down the gallery.
Did we go see Steve Earle or a different show?
Wait, pause.
It was Ronnie Burkett.
Oh, Ronnie Burkett.
We went to see Ronnie Burkett, and I've been carrying a clown whistle in my pocket for 3 weeks straight. It was in my pocket all day, every day, blowing it all day. Neighbors must hate me, but I had a clown whistle in my pocket for 3 weeks straight. We go to see Ronnie Burkett at just in the whole theater downtown. What's it called?
Art Commons.
Art Commons.
Martha Cohen, I think.
And it so happened that on our way out, for some weird happening, there was a protest of clowns heckling the crowd, hanging over the stairwell. So there's like 300 clowns, people dressed on full-on clown suits speaking clown gibberish at us, kind of like a Dada art piece, like just weirdos, and like heckling everybody that went up the stairs doing like this weird clown speak. And I'm like, oh my God, I've got a clown
Just
whistle in
checking
my
your-
pocket. And it was like the one moment for those 3 weeks that I didn't have it. But it would have been the perfect call and response for being heckled by a clown, heckled by 100 clowns, to just go up the stairs and quietly like dead silence. That would have shut them all down. Another thing is, 100,000 years ago, probably the last time I was shooting on 35 millimeter since before this, I had El Dento, which was I wanted an automatic, fully automatic 35 millimeter Nikon.
El Dento.
And I went into this camera store. Oh, it was the camera store. And I said, hey, I want a camera, but I want something that's got nothing. I want purely manual. And I kind of don't want to spend a lot of money. And I'm kind of broke. And, you know, kind of. And the guy that was at the camera store was an ACAD photography graduate. And he's like, oh, I remember you from school. And I go, do you have something like this that's kind of like very, very backwards and manual? And he goes, oh, well, what you want is El Dento. And he hands me this like Nikon with the dented canister. It took amazing pictures. But I was driving around in my, was that my Pontiac, 62 Pontiac, or possibly in my Jeep, with this camera in my lap, just taking crowd scenes because I wanted to work from paintings. Mm-hmm. There wasn't the same idea of consent back there that you get out and have somebody sign a form if you took their picture. I was just driving around taking like urban street shots to work from my paintings. Mm-hmm. My camera was focused for about the distance of the curb, and I was sitting there with my camera in my lap. I'd pull up to the lights, and when I was stopped, I'd whip out the camera, take a picture, and drive off. I pulled up to this one set of lights, and probably because the people on the corner were like a little more aggressive and like kind of blue-haired punk rock kids, I was like looking, I go, that'd be a great photo, but I don't want to be like some creepy guy taking pictures of punk rock kids. And so I was looking out the window, like, should I take a photo? Nah. I said, well, should I take a photo? Would that be weird? Nah. And out of the blue, this obnoxious girl goes, why don't you take a picture? It'll last longer. And it went, click, and drove off. And it was a pretty funny moment. But now that I tell the story, it sounds like more pervy, but I was young when I did it, so it wasn't pervy at the time.
No, it's pretty cute.
Taking pictures without their consent. Zach Abbott, do you know the rules of consent for both my classroom and the art gallery?
In regards to photography?
Consent for anything.
Oh.
Want to hear them?
Yeah.
No means no. Maybe means no. And yes can be maybe or no.
Solid.
I feel like those Hockey Canada kids would learn a benefit of no means no, maybe means no, and yes can also mean maybe or no. So you got to tread lightly on this green earth. Because also, what happened there?
That was a good laugh.
Also,
that was awesome.
Who is giggling? I'm just confused because I can't see any faces. What was I saying? Oh yeah, because people can change their minds at any time. Because anybody can basically crucify anybody else. You have to carry yourself in a way where people just don't want to crucify you.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that's good advice for everybody. I got 9:05. My paper's dry enough. I think I can move it. These are like marathon days, painting for 2.5 hours straight.
You want to see how much paint I spilled tonight?
I would love
to. Okay.
Nice.
All over there. Okay.
Yep. Oh my gosh.
Let's see.
Green.
All over the floor.
Ooh. You know what you can do with that if you're quick? Try and move the furniture out and spread it around. Have a nice uniform, clean. At Rumble, it was often much easier to paint than clean.
Yeah, I like that. That's a cool move. That's a studio move. I like that a lot.
Are you gonna spread that paint around?
It used to freak out. We used to hang out pretty hard and vandalize everything in the space.
Okay, I just want to clarify for Melissa. She said I caught that conversation late, and the way I would say this is even an authentic yes can still become no.
Change, yeah.
At any point. No means no, maybe means no, and yes can shift to maybe.
And a coerced yes is not a yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would go without saying, but I
Yeah.
appreciate the reiteration because I had not anticipated that as part of the conversation. But yes, without a doubt. It's actually kind of weird, like the idea when they're trying to get oh, this is sad. Felix is saying backstage. I'll say sorry, I didn't. Sorry. My ringer was off. My Roger was off.
That might have been an old message though.
Yeah, but still.
Oh.
No, he said I'm backstage, and this is I'm backstage again. I kind of think like Felix is at his mom's house, and I kind of think he's like renegade broadcasting from the basement, and then like when somebody comes near, he shuts down the whole broadcast and dumps it under. Like I think it's a little bit like a subversive under the railroad broadcasting. But it's good to let everybody in your house know that you're broadcasting too, in case somebody walks around with their boxer briefs or something. It is unfortunate about this complex world we live in. The floors look so nice when y'all painted them. Not usually. Yeah. I love that you said y'all. I can't pull that one off. Years and years and years ago, I liked how it sounded when one person called another person brother. I didn't think I could pull out brother or bro. I've never been somebody that could say bro, but I cultivated the habit of saying brother, and I like that shift when that started feeling comfortable. Sometimes you have an idea who you want to be versus what feels natural.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I specifically cultivated by choice. Please, sir, don't make me make any more paintings. What should I paint?
This is a scene from The Last Unicorn.
Ah, what should I paint?
What should you paint? I brought. This isn't what you should paint. I was curious about the indigo on the
I'm gonna do it. You can use my indigo. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, I was thinking if you wanted to.
No, I don't think it'll look nice. Have you tried your watercolors on the vellum?
Yeah, it looks really nice.
It doesn't just bubble off?
No. Because it's like a really nice matte material. Like
20 minutes left. Time for a painting. Trump's threatening stuff. What's he threatening? To deploy Trump's birthday.
Let's not worry about that.
How about a motorcycle?
We're having, yeah. That's
nice. RD 400.
Oh, you're right.
What?
I've done this before and it was a lot more.
Oh, I'm impressed you tried. How's that? There's a book called Setting Free the Bears. And John Irving discusses this motorcycle that had spaces and gaps that looked like they might be there for a toolbox. And it really shaped my idea what a motorcycle should look like. And they were a couple of young fellas that decided to break into the zoo and set the bears free. And then the bears ate them. Here's a painting I did today. Maybe you can see it. Top right corner. Wolf. That was such a dangerous bike. PRD 400. What was the first problem? My license. I became very close to not having a motorcycle license or a driver's license when I got my RD 400. And then I had to learn to drive very gingerly. And after learning to drive very gingerly, I found that the other drivers on the road, other than the police officers, did not appreciate me driving slowly. So I basically, I had a couple good moments with cops, actually. I had a number of bad moments with cops, but one of the good moments was I was on my RD 400 and I was going too fast. And the police officer pulled me over. Have I told you the story about the motorcycle? Did I ever tell you why I drive so reasonably?
Well, the one was when they saw the seat in the back.
That's a different one, but I will tell that story in a minute. It's also a good story. Good learning lesson.
Yeah. No,
the motorcycle story went like this. I got pulled over on McLeod Trail, kind of near where that Silverdor. It's not Silverdor. What's the casino on McLeod Trail called?
Blackfoot?
No. Near the Stampede?
Is it just the Stampede Casino?
Is it?
I don't know.
Either way, they had a check stop there, and I was whipping by, and I got flagged down. And I think the conversation went something along the lines of, if I write you this ticket, you're going to have to take your test again in a few years when you get to have your driver's license again. And so the warning I got was, I'm not giving you a ticket because
that's how much it'll mess up your life.
Yeah. Like he cut me a break. Like,
That's
I don't know how to write this one down. Yeah. And that was pretty special. And so after that, I never sped again.
That's really nice.
Yeah. That's one of the nice stories. And almost every interaction I had with an officer of the law went not good, except from these two specific situations. The first one was before the motorcycle. I was a young man. I was at the Ship and Anchor, and I had not had a tasty beverage in a while, and I decided to have a tasty beverage. Now, because I had such low body fat at the time, when I would have a tasty beverage, I would get dizzy and disorientated quicker than most people. So I had one tasty beverage and decided to cut it short because I had to work in the morning. And I got up to go home after my tasty beverage. And I did notice myself stumbling a bit towards the washroom where I was going to relieve myself of the tasty beverage. And wondered if I should be able to drive my car home safely, because really I think I had 1 pint of tasty beverage and another pint of tasty beverage. And for my particular body weight, I should have been fine with 2 pints at the time. 2 pints. But I was a little disorientated. And so I got in my car thinking I should drive home with extra caution, just in case my reflexes were impaired. So happened that mere moments after I got in my car, I passed a check stop on Elbow Drive. And there was quite a lineup in the check stop for people being checked. And I kind of worked. Are you there, Zach?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Have you ever heard this story before?
No, not there. No.
Okay. So I was 23. I was a single dad. I had a car seat in the back of my Jeep. There was no child in the car seat. I was positive that it would not blow over, but I was a little bit awkward in my movements. And I ran into a check stop. And at the check stop, I, with my panic, was practicing my line, which I'd picked up from a Robin Williams movie. And I was like, what seems to be the problem, officer? 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 And in the Robin Williams video, he goes, and I didn't do that, but I did sort of like pulled up to the check stop, and the officer of the law said, have you had anything to drink tonight? And I said, I had just one drink with dinner. But I kind of yelled it in a very sort of manic way. And his eyes kind of rolled like, I'm about to ruin this kid's life. And again, I don't know for sure whether I would have or wouldn't have passed that breathalyzer. I should have, based on the amount that I'd consumed. But given that I was slightly disorientated, it's possible that because of my blood sugar, that it would have read as not good. It's when I was 23. And so the cop, officer of the law, did a very slow and dramatic lean into the car. And then he put his face dramatically back towards where my car seat was. And he looked at me and he goes, that, my son, is a lot of responsibility for a young man. And I looked back at the car seat and nodded, yep, that's a lot of responsibility for a young man. And he said, I am going to warn you in the future that before you drive home, you should really make sure that you're in the right place to do this driving home. And I said, with my tail between my legs, thank you, sir. That's good advice. And that was the only time in my life I ever consumed a tasty beverage before I got behind the wheel. And I'm going to stipulate, I still have no reason to think that I would have physically blown over, other than the fact that I think my judgment was impaired a bit. And in the duration of my life, I have never, ever drank even a little bit and drove a car since. And I used to have an open policy that if somebody needed a ride home, I would come get them at any time from any place, to make up for this one particular moment where that cop might have cut me some slack. So those are two funny stories where things worked out for me. And when I tell them, they don't even really sound true to me anymore. They sort of sound like the kind of stories people make up. What do you think about that, Zach Abbott?
I know that I've been in too much trouble in this arena to have a comment.
Did you have a lucky break?
Yeah, my whole life. Yeah. The entirety of my existence has been one hell of a lucky break.
Oh,
Good.
that is nice.
Yeah.
What is your current lucky break status right now?
Pretty lucky.
All good?
Yeah, I'm breaking lucky, baby.
Do you know anything about the Watergate scandal?
Oh, I've been told Nixon's involved. Kissinger's involved.
Yeah. So I was cleaning out my art room during exams today, and I looked out into the hallway, and across the hallway was two hooded characters rummaging through the library, and I looked over, and it looked just like Watergate through the window. Like they've reenacted it in the movie Man. But I see these two hooded fellas digging through the computer, and they both walking out of the library with these laptop computers. And so I intervened, and I find these two kids. They were just getting computers to play video games on while they were waiting for the day to end because they were done their exams. But it was like, first of all, pretty funny to bust them, and second of all, pretty funny about how just like
sketchy they look,
nefarious they looked with their hoodies on. So I probably wouldn't have noticed them if they didn't have their hoodies on, but they did. So that was funny. What do you think of this Apple? This is my first motorcycle that almost killed me 100 times.
It's the RD400?
Yeah. So it looked small and unassuming. It was kind of like a mountain bike with an engine, but it was a two-stroke engine, and it was a 400cc two-stroke engine. So if you know anything about motorcycles, it's kind of like a street bike with a dirt bike power band at a time when they hadn't really started building street bikes to be street bike shaped. So it went fast enough that you needed to be hunched down over the tank to not peel off the bike, and yet you sat upright like, you know, Mr. Magoo.
That's really cute.
Kind of a Mr. Magoo setup with a rocket launcher underneath. And you could literally lift the front wheel in first, second, or third gear. My friend Warren was the first person that doubled on the bike, and I was coming down the street in front of my parents' house, and I had this idea that I would give him a bit of a thrill because as the revs climbed, there was this moment where if you punched the clutch, it would just take off.
Yeah.
And so the first person I doubled, maybe I rode for a year before I risked putting another human being on the bike. But the first person I doubled was Warren, and he got on the. You've met Warren.
Mm-hmm.
He got on the back of my bike, and I was peeling out of my parents' house and really revving it up high so that when I pulled the throttle, it would just zip down the street. What I hadn't anticipated was two things. One, I don't know that I'd ever revved it up so high before I punched that throttle before. And two, there was extra weight on the back seat. So I was going to give him a little thrill by just speeding off into the sunset. And what I ended up doing was just peeling off and pulling my first 60-foot wheelie. And so the front wheel comes up, and he's just like, whoa! And then I was like, oh, I should let go of the throttle. And I let go of the throttle, and the front wheel dropped back down. And then he said, wow, when did you learn to do that? And I was like, oh, tomorrow we'll learn how to do that. So I didn't currently know what I was doing at the time. So I'm just full of bad stories tonight.
I think it's amazing you lived through a lot of these things.
Yeah.
And you learned from stuff.
Yeah, for sure. It is quite amazing that I lived. Jumping off of Elbow Falls, pulling wheelies down the street.
Yeah, you really did have all your stories today.
Right.
Maybe it's
Those aren't all my stories.
No, I mean
bad
like
ones?
no. I mean like there's themes. There always are themes, I guess.
Yeah. Zach Abbott, we're going to shut down a little early tonight.
Okay.
Now it's time to say goodbye to all our family. MICKEYMOUSE. Do you want to sing to us for real?
Yeah.
Okay. What are you going to sing? I'm gonna start shutting the lights down.
As long as there are stars above you, you never need to doubt it. I'll make you so sure about it. God only knows what I'd be without you. If you should ever leave me, the life would still go on, believe me. The world would show nothing to me. So what good would living do me?